And we're on. Welcome. If you're new to this channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Logan. This is Timeless Personal Growth and Development. And today we're talking about masculinity. How to be unapologetically, positively masculine. Hey guys, know what time it is? That's right, story time. So get ready, get relaxed, get caffeinated, because here we go, masculinity. So I'll start with a little short story. It was probably 7 years ago. I was working at a day camp, and I was assigned to work with the boy with autism. And everybody has their. If you're someone that works with kids, everybody has their own style of working with children. My style is very. It depends. Depends who I'm working with, depends who the kid is. I will adapt my approach depending on who I'm with. But this kid was he liked to run the show with the adults that he was working with. He liked to push. He liked to manipulate. He liked to dominate, if you will. And when I know I'm working with a kid with that kind of nature, I know my approach needs to be a certain way. And my approach needs to be very iron fist. And I'm not going to allow any child, I don't care what his upbringing is, I don't care who he is, I don't allow any child to run the show when they're with me. If I'm working with them, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, I lead. That's the way it goes. And I needed this child to get that message. So, like, in other words, I needed to impose my masculinity on him. And when you do that for the first time, especially the child doesn't know you, they don't respond very well. They're not very good at responding to that. They don't know you very well. So they're going to push, and they're going to test, and they're going to see what they can get away with, and they're going to test your boundaries and see if they can cause you to bend to their will. And I wasn't going to do that, no matter how hard this kid pushed. I was going to rule with an iron fist. It doesn't mean being rude or disrespectful towards this child. It just means to show this kid, no matter how hard he pushed me, I wasn't going to break. I'm the adult and I run this show. What I say goes. And yes, he's going to have to submit to me and submit to my leadership. And I was going to push him until he finally broke. And yeah, you can look at that as imposing my masculinity. And that's exactly what I was doing. Setting boundaries, disciplining him, not giving him any leeway as hard as he pushed. When he wasn't pushing, when he wasn't testing me, that's when I would use humor, and that's when I would emotionally connect with him. But when he pushed and tested my boundaries, the humor went away, the funny guy went away, and it was serious. It was down to business. And so I had this coworker that was observing our dynamic, our interactions. So my supervisor, a couple days later, comes up to me and she says, "Logan, I was wondering if I'm not going to name names, but so-and-so, this other coworker that was observing me, if she can spend some time and work with the child that you're working with. Maybe share the load with him a little bit." I'm like, okay, sure. And I knew a supervisor and this female coworker that was observing me were friends. Okay, sure. And I asked my supervisor, "Is there a specific reason for this?" I was like, "Well, Logan, I know you're not going to like to hear this, but she doesn't like your approach with the boy you're working with." Okay, what about the approach? What about my approach doesn't she like? She finds you're just too masculine with him. She feels like she needs to, in her words, save him from you because you impose too much masculinity onto him. And it's affecting his connection with you. Where she feels that you need to have a little more of a softer, gentler touch to be able to connect with him. I'm like, I disagree that having a softer touch will connect with him because he's a manipulator. He senses weakness, he will pounce all over you. That's not a way to connect with him. That's a way for him to take advantage of you. But I'm like, all right, if she thinks she knows what's best for him, she can go right ahead. I'll back off. I'll go work with someone else. You can do it. You have my green light. What do you think happened? She tried to approach her softer touch on him. Didn't work. She thought she was connecting with him. All he did, and I saw this from a mile away, he buttered her up, he charmed her, he played her, and made her think she was making an emotional connection with him, and she wasn't. It was all a game. And I was able to see through his BS right away. I just let it happen. I'm not saying a soft feminine touch is not necessary. It's very necessary, especially with kids. But it depends on the kid and depends on the context and the situation. So like raising a child, to raise a child effectively, you need the masculine father and you need the feminine mother. You need that. You need both energies. So I'm not saying they don't need feminine energy. It just wasn't going to work with this child. You needed to rule with an iron fist. You needed to impose your masculinity. She felt I was a little too masculine for her taste. Okay. I'm not going to apologize for it because I know that masculinity is very necessary in certain situations. Now, maybe it rubs people the wrong way sometimes. Okay. But I'm telling you, in crisis situations, when shit gets real, when stress starts to rise, you want strong masculine men that know how to compose themselves in those kind of situations. You don't want the men who are going to get all butthurt and emotional and stressed out. And you want the men who are going to maintain composure and lead effectively and lead with masculinity. But sometimes masculinity in certain contexts rubs people the wrong way and they don't like it. Same way how men bust each other's balls when they interact with each other. A lot of people don't understand that interaction. I had that kind of interaction with a buddy of mine who was actually here with me yesterday. And yeah, we're constantly busting each other's balls and making fun of each other. I do with my other buddy too, lives outside the city. I do that all the time with each other. And and girlfriends kind of look at that and it's like, guys are weird. The way they just tease each other, make fun of each other, so rude and just awful to each other. It's like, it's not being rude, it's not being insulting. It's a term of endearment. When you look at your male friend, you look at him like, hey jackass, how you doing? You had a good day? Yeah. Like stuff like that. Just men busting each other's balls. That's showing love in male language. That's what it is. The text exchange that I have with my buddies all the time, it's cussing, swear words, insulting each other. It is the equivalent of saying, literally, the equivalent of texting your girlfriend or your wife and saying, sweetie, I love you. It's the same thing. It's the equivalent. It's masculinity. That's how men interact with each other, by busting each other's balls. It's kind of testing men to see, like, hey man, you cool? Can I push you around a little bit? You're not going to take it too seriously, and you're going to push me around too, eh? You're going to push back. And it's all fun and games. You're not going to take it too seriously, because that's how men interact with each other. It's called masculinity. Don't feel bad about that. Don't have to apologize for stuff like that. It's how men interact. And you have to teach young boys that kind of interaction too, because boys interact in that way too. And very sensitive boys will get hurt in situations like that. And you gotta teach boys that it's not about hurting. we're teasing each other. We're being playful. If I'm meeting another man for the first time, we're not going to do that to each other because we don't have that emotional bond yet. Once we get comfortable with each other and we get to know and we connect, then we start to bust each other's balls. Once we reach that point where we're busting each other's balls, then we know, whoa, we've established a really good male connection with each other. And it's all a bonding process. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's enjoyable, it's fun how men interact. And it starts at a very young age. And the same thing, the story I just shared with you at camp, it wasn't about me hurting this child. It wasn't about me imposing my masculine dominance over him. It was teaching him. It was teaching him and disciplining him. That at the end of the day, you're still a child and you still need to be led effectively, and you need to be prepared for the world. And a kid having that kind of attitude, that kind of dominance over everybody else, not knowing how to socially interact with others, especially being on the autism spectrum, he needs to be taught. He needs to be taught that he needs a strong male role model to lead him and to follow him and teach him effectively and give him the skills that he needs to conduct himself and to succeed in the world. And that part of that is being positively, unapologetically masculine. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Logan Ryder, Timeless Personal Growth and Development. And I will see you all in another life. My next video will be on Friday. I'll be doing a fitness video. I will be talking about how to maximize mass gaining in terms of weight conditioning. And I will see you all very soon. Have a good week.